What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, folks, we've got some good news coming out of the Supreme Court, and our good friends over at the Common Dreams were kind enough to cover it for us and try to manipulate us into believing a lie. That is right. They blatantly lie in this thing. But that's to be expected when it comes from left-wing news, folks. But let's get into this right quick. In dissent, Jackson warns of devastating impacts as Supreme Court okays Trump ending protections for 500,000 migrants. Now, I know what you might be thinking right off the jump. And sure, I might be poking the bear a little bit right here, but I would love for Common Dreams to let me know exactly what is devastating. Did they mean devastating? Because that's not what is writ, by the way. It's devastating, as a matter of fact. But enough of my semantics, y'all. Let's get into this. The U.S. Supreme Court on Friday cleared the way for the Trump administration to end, for now, legal protections for more than 500,000 Haitian, Cuban, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan migrants with a ruling that liberal Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson blasted in a dissent as deeply harmful. Now, you love how they said, for now, as if there's another appellate process, as if there's a higher court than the Supreme Court. What exactly did they mean for now? Because that's not how the Supreme Court works. Generally, let me kind of inform Common Dreams right quick. Usually, once one of these orders goes to the Supreme Court, that's it, buddy. It's over at that point. You don't have any more legal avenues to figure your case out. Now, maybe they're talking about something else here, but you love how they say, for now, at least, as if these people are going to get it back. Because once their protected status is gone, yeah, I'm sorry, but Donald Trump isn't just going to give it to them back willy-nilly, as a matter of fact. But let's keep going and see if there's something else to this. The decision puts on hold a ruling from U.S. District Judge Indra Talwani, who in April issued a stay on the Trump administration's move to end a humanitarian program extended to this group under former U.S. President Joe Biden. The ruling means the immigrants are at risk of being deported under President Donald Trump's mass deportation effort, even as the core legal issues in the case continue to play out in lower courts. Yes, I did that, and that was intentional, folks. Once again, typos all over the place in this thing, and I will point those out to the embarrassment of Common Dreams, if you will. The unsigned order from the Supreme Court focuses on the so-called CHNV parole program, which allows certain individuals from those four nations to apply for entry into the U.S. for a temporary stay so long as they have a U.S.-based sponsor, go through security vetting, and meet other conditions. I wonder what those other conditions are. In some cases, beneficiaries of the program work in the U.S. Yes, in most cases, because, it would be quite lascivious, I guess would be the right word, for us to bring all these people into the country and then, just let them be homeless or, not allow them to work. That would be ridiculous if you ask me. But let's keep going. On his first day in office, Trump issued an executive instructing the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security to terminate all categorical parole programs, including CHNV. Now, once again, I do believe we have another typo here where they forgot to type in order. They issued an executive order instructing the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security to terminate all categorical parole programs, including CHNV. Yes, there are many of these, folks. The court has plainly botched this assessment today. Did it, though? It requires next to nothing from the government with respect to irreparable harm, wrote Jackson in her dissent, joined by Justice Sonia Sotomayor. And it undervalues the devastating consequences of allowing the government to precipitously upend the lives and livelihoods of nearly 500,000 non-citizens while their legal claims are pending. You love that. Like, once again, folks, this is just attempting to get us back to some semblance of normality, if you will. Joe Biden, think about this, allowed upwards of 20 million migrants to come into this country, overloading all of our resource systems, all of our housing systems, for crying out loud. The jobs market, flooded the freaking jobs market with low-skilled labor. With very low-skilled labor, when we have I guess you could call it a Gen Z crisis going on right now, if you will, where these people are coming into the workplace and they just don't want to work. So now, well, what happens? Joe Biden comes in, floods the zone with a bunch of low-skilled labor. So now Gen Z is just left out to dry, right? Whether they want to work or not, because that's not all the way across the board. That's just a generality, right? You have some hardworking, very, very based Gen Z kids. They're kind of kids out there that are willing to do the work, that are willing to put in the hours, that are willing to get off their butt and actually do something to build their lives up and, reach for that American dream. But once again, the Biden administration does not care about Gen Z, does not care about American citizens. They care more about virtue signaling to their constituency than they do about the jobs market, about the culture in this country, about anything except for virtue signaling. They want you to view them and, venerate your Democratic representatives, for crying out loud. That's the only thing that Democratic representatives actually want from their constituents. They don't care about the needs and wants. They don't care about making the citizens' lives easier. They just care about virtue signaling, and that is it, folks. You can look at their actions. Don't look at what they say. Just look at their actions, and that will become very, very clear very, very quickly. Friday's ruling is the second time this month that the Supreme Court has permitted the Trump administration to halt a program aimed at protecting immigrants who leave their home countries for humanitarian reasons. Earlier in May, the court issued an unsigned order allowing Trump to cancel temporary protected status protections, though that was a mouthful, specifically extended to 350,000 Venezuelan immigrants, while the legal case winds its way through the lower courts. Yes, so what does that tell you, folks? That Joe Biden clearly went about this in an illegal manner, obviously. Either that or the Trump administration has sole authority over these programs, and they get to determine whether these people get to stay in the country at any point in time. And I do believe that is the case. And the Supreme Court has looked at these rulings and says that the Trump administration wins based upon the merits. They are correct. Whoever is suing is not correct. Get out of my courtroom now, please. At least that's what I'm getting from all of this. The court's decision on Friday is a temporary order and litigation is still playing out, but it signals that a majority of the justices think the Trump administration is likely to prevail in the case, according to the New York Times. Respondents now face two unbearable options, according to Jackson's dissent. Jackson wrote that immigrants in the program could either choose to leave the U.S. and potentially confront dangers in their home countries and other adverse outcomes, or risk imminent removal at the hands of the government agents, along with its serious attendant consequences. I wonder what she means about those attendant consequences. Not intendant, attendant consequences. I don't know what that actually means. I wonder if that's also a misprint. But, you gotta love this, because that is a Supreme Court justice saying that, by the way. None of that is a legal argument as to why the Trump administration is wrong. None of that's a legal argument. All it is a heartstring argument. Once again, these people don't care about the legality of the Constitution. They just care about your emotional mindset and how you feel about the Constitution and not about what it actually says. This is the entirety of the Democrats' MO, is how do we feel about the Constitution? Because there is a lot of the Constitution that is just up for interpretation, which it shouldn't be, but it is. Because clearly, Democrats interpret, I don't know, say birthright citizenship to mean that anybody can come in regardless of the legality of their entry into the United States. And if they have a kid for the sole purpose of manipulating our Constitution, that is totally and utterly constitutional and should be venerated, for crying out loud. That's what those people think. That is some of the most deranged, lunatic thinking I think I've ever thought in my life. What do you think? I think it's insane. But you know what I think. Let me know what you think. It's insane. It really is to me, but what can you do? These people make the arguments. They might not be coherent arguments, but they still make them. The court allows the government to do what it wants to do regardless, rendering constraints of law irrelevant and unleashing devastation in the process, she concludes in the dissent. Is that actually the case? Because to me it sounds like, yeah, they won based upon the merits of the law, not based upon the merits of their emotions. Which that's exactly what it sounds like you're doing. You can invoke law all you want, but what's the actual legal argument? She hasn't made one yet. But hey. Aaron Reichlin Melnick, senior fellow at the American Immigration Council, wrote, an incredibly devastating decision which simply ignores the human costs and blesses the Trump administration's stripping of status of hundreds of thousands of people who entered the country legally. Is that so? Did they enter the country legally? Yeah, just because the Biden administration facilitates these people's entry, that makes it legal? Hang on just a second. If this would have been the Trump administration doing this, there would have been thousands upon thousands, I know it's being hyperbolic, of legal challenges to that. They would have challenged that, as a matter of fact. You might be thinking, was the Trump administration actually importing people from all over the world? Yeah. Anything Trump does, the Democrats have to be antithetical to whatever Trump does. So, yeah, if Trump decides one day that, hang on, there's some people over in South Africa that are being persecuted, and he gives them refugee status. Hang on just a second. Democrats oppose that. Their worldview makes abso-freaking-lutely no sense. It really doesn't. Well, this is just white supremacy. That's what they went with. That was the argument here. You gotta love it, folks. You got to love it. Josh Gerstein, a legal reporter at Politico, wrote that the ruling may spell trouble for Ukrainians, Afghans with similar status. Yeah, it might. It just might. But will it? That's the question. Has there been any challenges to this? Has the Trump administration signaled to any of those people that he wants to revoke their status? No. As a matter of fact, he hasn't. Not yet, at least. And will he? I don't know. I doubt it. If he hasn't done it by now, it doesn't seem like he's going to. But, these people can fearmonger all they want to. They can just go ahead and fearmonger their way all the way into oblivion for all I care. Because none of the fearmongering is going to come true, right? None of it's going to be actualized in reality. None of it. But, it is what it is. I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. I call it poetic justice, if you ask me. Once again, the Biden administration just allowed way too many people to come into this country, and we've got to have some sort of reset, y'all. We've got to get some of these people out of the country. Joe Biden flooded the damn zone with way too many migrants without any sort of access to the legal process by which they can become citizens. No, he's just giving them, thousands of dollars a month, hotel rooms, all kinds of nonsense, giving them jobs, blah, 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 blah. Like all those jobs that Joe Biden used to tout. Yeah, he was importing people and trying to give them jobs at the government, trying to give them jobs all over the damn place. It was outright absurd. We covered the stories. If you don't believe me, go through my video archive and go check some of those stories out. They are there. Might be hard to find because I make a lot of videos, but they're there, folks. I can promise you that. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here and you want to stay in tune with all the manipulations of the corporate press and stay up to date with politics. Subscribe. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you would be so inclined, I would be greatly appreciative if you would sign up, become a member, help me deliver the best possible content I can deliver to you guys. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.